an alien come to visit you, whatever it might be, allowing your body to respond to that. And the ways that responding can happen is also limitless.
So the woman who was in the video just chatted here. Soul, would you be willing?
Soul,
would you be willing to speak a little bit, because we're talking about your experience? If you're willing to talk about that for a few moments, we can get you unmuted. So of course it's a choice. You have to be a heck yes or a hell no.
Hello.
There she is.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was me talking, that you're talking about in the video. It's the video that's going around with Lauren Slanoff.
Yes. It is you. And wait, what a beautiful synchronicity that you're on the call.
You were cracking me up.
It was meant to be.
I was like laughing so hard when you were talking about the descriptions of like the woo-ness and how unnecessary that is.
Good.
Yeah, but I guess to share about my experience in my body, like you're right, like words actually are a huge, like I feel words in my body so much. It probably has something to do with the fact that I'm a poet, that I love, that I'm also a singer, that I love sound. So like I'm so responsive to sound. If I hear pleasure sounds, my body will start to shake. Like I can really feel in my body deeply what's happening when someone speaks. So like a suggestion, I'm very audio suggestive. So yeah, like every word he's saying, and literally every time that I've been in a workshop with Lauren Slanoff, as soon as he starts to speak, because of the place that he speaks from, like he really, really speaks from his connection to energy and his connection to infinity. Like I'm already feeling the transmission that's happening energetically in my body. Right. And my body does react in a very physical way. I mean, yes, it's an energy thing, but I mean, you can see in the video and it's very clear when I'm like just by myself, like I don't have to be with anybody else. Like I can like, I'll start to shake. My whole body will start to shake. My yoni will start to pulse. It will get wet. Like it will have all the physical responses that you would have in a physical experience, oftentimes way more than that. So yeah, it's like the sound, his voice, the words, and also just the energetic transmission. There's like a heat sensation that travels through my body. There's definitely a lot of shaking, tingling, pulsing. My challenge has been to like go even deeper, like through the experience of the shaking, of the sensation into like what's happening on a very micro, subtle level, to feel what's actually shifting in my being, you know, emotionally, or just like trauma leaving or whatever, to like actually feel on an informational subtle level what's happening in myself, as opposed to just the sensations.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know everything that's going on.
Yeah, because sometimes it doesn't even come through to days later, and you're like, whoa.
In some senses, the analytical brain just goes blank, right? And it's just a happening, and you just kind of observe yourself at the most. You're just observing yourself doing things, from what I imagine.
Yeah.
So what a beautiful experience.
Thank you for that.
And explanation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And again, the fact that you happen to be on the call, we're talking about Lawrence's energy sex. I would say that frequency carries information, and that definitely there is the non-local phenomena, to me, is a very, very real experience. And part of my healing practice is I do work with people long distance, and the frequency that I use is really the frequency of love. And for me, the heart connected to the yoni, like that, that's my laser beam. I mean, that's how I came to heal myself, was understanding that that connection had been broken. And that for many people, and I see this with my clients, they're pretty much like you draw a line along their midsection. And either the heart is very active or the genital space is very active. And one of the beautiful outcomes for me, for my own healing, was really viscerally experiencing that that is a thing. Like when heart is connected to yoni, when heart is connected to lingam.
Can I actually, oh, sorry. I wanted to speak to that because we just came from a workshop that we were doing just before with Kamala Devi. And she was talking about basically connecting with our contraceptual selves. So connecting to the side of us that wasn't technically embodied when we were born. So like whether you're in a female body, such as myself, or a masculine body, such as, I don't know your name, but
Seva.
Like the opposite, Seva, yeah, the opposite. And like, for me, I mean, I was crying the whole second half of that workshop because we so strongly connected in that particular meditation to my cock, to my lingam, you know, and like the vulnerability of it, the strength of it, and the softness and all of it. And the thing for me that was so powerful, I spent so long kind of like aware of my gender queerness, non-binariness, whatever you want to call it. But in that moment, I didn't really understand the degree to which that repression was actually a block in my yoni, like until that particular meditation. And I've done work with like, you know, connecting pure and masculine, but until that meditation that she called shamanic shapeshifting, I like felt a thing move in my yoni energetically that like I was like, holy shit, I've been trying to move this block for so long, you know, like thinking it's like, oh, my womb connection. And you know, it's connected to that for sure, but like it was like, holy shit, my energetic cock has been wanting to throb and be for so long connected to my heart, like you're saying, but like, you know, in the same way that my yoni can be connected to my heart. But yeah, wow, that was powerful.
Wow, that was great. And it illustrates there's so many ways to become responsive. There's so many ways to unblock. You know, shamanically, non-shamanically, emotionally, every different way. And you know, if you just your example, your energetic cock, great. Well, in my view, the clitoris is a cock.
I mean, fuck yes.
Exactly the same under the hood. So, you know, put energy into it, feel it, let it be free, let it go wild. And that's a responsiveness. That's a release. That's a releasing of a block. And when a wave of that first comes through you, you might feel like, oh my God, I'm going to faint. Something uncontrollable is going to happen. I'm going to bash my head on the wall or fall over or go into convulsions or something. And that first thought is sometimes a block. So just something to be aware of in a general sense, that as we move towards Tantra, as we move towards releasing and becoming more responsive, is to be aware of when that initial stoppage starts to happen, and then let it happen. Most likely, even if you pass out, you're gonna be on a bed or on a couch or something It's not going to be dangerous. So that the way of being more responsive and less blocked is the way towards energy orgasm, and what you see in the video with Lawrence of a person releasing fully going into energy orgasm. And that can, and that's great. And that's kind of like a model, great model. I think a couple steps back from that, and I would say for the person first trying to, I would say in a sense, seed an energy orgasm or prime an energy orgasm, I could say. What happened for me was I have always liked sex and always liked orgasm and always liked the abdominal contraction, which for men sometimes can lead to an ejaculation, and so sometimes you don't want to go that way. But if a man has ejaculatory choice, then he can focus on contracting the abdomen, the abdominal muscles, and a hard contraction or a simulated orgasm, a simulated movement of having sex can be a seed or can be a primer for an energy orgasm. What I see in tantrikas and dakinis who do have energy orgasms, Cheryl included, is the physical response. Regardless of what is happening in the brain or what the philosophy or belief is, there is the physical response. So a pragmatic person can maybe go from the opposite end, start with the physical and see how it affects the experience or the experiential.
Right. And then it could be the other way too.
It can be the other way.
Very much starting on an energy level. Soul talked about voice.
Right.
Voice is a vibration. It's a frequency. It carries information. And as there's this honing of awarenesses to the subtle energies, that can increase the capacity to feel, to enjoy. And those pathways, they become more and more honed. Like it's like you kind of can get less, you can get more from less.
Yes. That's kind of my definition of Tantra, getting more and more from less and less. So if I just sit here and decide to feel, okay, what am I feeling? I'm feeling heat in my hands because we've got some excitement going, and that's how it's manifesting. I feel a slight breeze on my legs, maybe for my breathing. So I can go step by step more and more subtle and feel. And as soon as I'm feeling, then most likely that's pleasure, and pleasure leads to energy orgasm, which to me, let's see, I've got a definition here somewhere.
So I am a very experiential
learner. I didn't finish. Wait a second.
All right. And because I'd like to lead definition a short activity
of a energy orgasm is a peak wave of sensory nerve activity traveling from the body's periphery to the brain that dissipates on its own or through muscular, emotional, vocal, or visionary expression. So it's a sensation that can go to a contraction, but one can't contract forever. No matter how strong your muscles are, they eventually give up, either voluntarily or you make them. And then there's a release. And so from a meditation standpoint, it is kind of a gradually goes to your brain. And then your brain gets lit up because your brain lights up during orgasm more parts of your brain light up in orgasm than any other activity. And so what you're doing with an energy orgasm is everything that travels through your body into your brain and lights it up, but just short of ejaculation or a genital orgasm. So you're kind of basically losing control over a powerful energy, and then you see what it does. And compared to a regular orgasm, which is losing control or involuntary contraction of the pubococcygeal muscles in the pelvis. Mm-hmm. So that's my explanation. Had to get that finished for sure.
Yes.
Before the session was over.
and thank you for that. So I'm a very experiential learner and teacher. So let's do a short practice that talks that. So what I'm going to say is contract your perineum. I'll say contract your lower abs and your upper abs. And while you're doing that, breathe steadily up through your nose and hold that breath to the top of your head. So here we go. Contract, contract, pull those lower abs, upper abs, keep that perineum and keep that brain to the top of your head. Hold, 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 let it go.
I started to have kriyas. I did.
So he's been a Kundalini yoga yogi for over 40 years, and those pathways are really, really well established. And I would say that by simply my voice, he could also start that. And I'm going to say that because my intention in this is to use my voice to provide a vibratory experience that my voice and my energy also prompted that. And yes, we will send that definition of the energy orgasm. We'll put that in comments later.
Okay.
So we have 15 minutes, and I would like to open it up if there are questions.
Yes.
Questions.
Do we have a chat?
And you can put your question in the chat. And I'm not sure if you have the power to unmute yourself. Sasha is our moderator here.
Yes, loves, they do have the power to unmute themselves. We just want to make sure that we're taking it one person at a time. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, I don't know if this is something that you know anything about, but I mean, it is very much related to energetic orgasm and lovemaking, I think. But I have had several experiences of spontaneous, energetic, distant lovemaking with people that I was romantically involved with. But yeah, funnily enough, it was never the case that both parties would have that experience at the same time.
Sorry.
I don't see you anymore. I only see myself now, which is a bit impractical. Oh, hello.
There you go. Once you stop talking.
I could make a comment on that from what you said. I think that it would be an amazing woo event if you both had it happen at the same time, but having it not at the same time would be more logical. And what fMRI scans of the brain show is that some women are able to have a full orgasm without touching, without movement, without anything happening at all. They just close their eyes, go into fantasy, or have an experience of similar to what you're just describing, and their body orgasms. Every aspect of an orgasm is happening. The lighting up of the brain, the dilation of the eyes, and everything. So that seems it seems like you're an advanced person, and fortunate for that.
So Sasha has suggested, and I think it's a good one. We're going to take our questions in the chat now. So we do have a couple of questions. And one is, what is a good way to prevent premature Kundalini awakening?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It sounds like a syndrome. Premature Kundalini awakening.
Right. Well, I don't know too much about that. I would just say that what we learned and what I experienced in my Kundalini yoga classes was that when you're channeling energy up the spine, it can get trapped in your brain. It can feel like pressure. It can have dizzy spells, or a feeling of being out of control, let's say. The cure for that was always to imagine or feel the energy flowing out of the brain and into the sky, in making a fountain, because the universe can handle all that energy. Mm-hmm. And so your body is a flow of Kundalini energy, but it doesn't have to be limited to just your physical body. It's really best if it's flowing in some way. And so that kind of relates to Bhakti yoga too. Like, okay, what should we do in our lives? Well, serve is a good thing. Whenever, and this is really great for partners too. Like you're with your partner and you're kind of like, what's going on? I don't know if we're in a good state or whatever. Well, you just do something to make a good state. Mm-hmm. You serve your partner, or you ask your partner to serve you, and that creates a flow rather than a stuckness. So hope that was helpful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we have another question here. Where do empaths, particularly those who can project as well as drawn in play into this, who can project? So I'm not sure I totally understand the question. I would identify myself as an empath.
Me too.
And Seva as well. And because I'm in session often, either with, I've been seeing my clients 6 feet away in my backyard, or I'm online, or I'm on the phone. What I've had to learn over the years is that my empathic nature, when I decide to use it, is a way that I can track energy. I can actually feel what someone else is feeling. Now, what I've also trained myself to do is I have pristine energetic boundaries. So I can hear a story. I've had clients relate horrific events. I mean, truly. And the way that I can I can sit and listen and invoke my compassion is that I can hear the words and I can let them move over me. So I can be there as a listener, I can be there as a facilitator, and ultimately what I bring to it is I know that anybody can heal from anything. So when I hear a story, I know that they have the capacity, because all healing is inner healing, that everyone does have the capacity to heal. So practice in energetic boundaries, very important for me. And also that because I have the core belief that everyone can heal, then I know that in that moment, I'm part of someone's healing. And that always feels good.
And it doesn't freak you out.
It does not freak me out.
Doesn't freak her out because she knows healing is possible.
Healing is always possible.
And I feel the same way. I feel that I'm empathetic. Like if someone is sad, then I immediately go into sadness. Happy, I go into happiness. And those are good things in my view. That's the upside of empathy. To me, there really isn't a downside. If you don't feel that there's anything wrong with emotions or anything wrong with whatever, just like Cheryl said, whatever's happening with the other person, it's okay. I mean, it's, you know, if they're dying, then you're present for their death, or if they're having a huge release, you're present for that. And it doesn't have to affect you. Or if it affects you, like say, if Cheryl's sad and I go into sadness, well, sadness is not a bad thing. Or if she's grieving and I go into grief too, that's great. Now I get a chance to feel grief too. There's a lot of things to be grieving about. So to me, there's never really a problem with feeling empathetic. You just let yourself do it. The moment passes and then you move on.
Right, which is really a form of energy management, because anything that you are in resistance to, be it grief, be it even ecstasy, if there's resistance to it, it doesn't have its little life. It doesn't get to be expressed and then move on to the next experience. And so I'm Melissa, if I'm going to read what she said, I struggle to breathe deeply into my pelvic floor, not only in my daily life, but also during intimacy. How can I develop this ability to reduce resistance / tension and breathe fully into my being? By the way, I learned to hold my breath at an early age because of fear and being a highly sensitive person. So, Melissa, I feel you.
Yes.
And the good news is that everything does begin with breath, and that breath is the way in, and that finding safety, like creating inner safety, which is the way I start all of my sessions and my work, is like how to source inner safety. Because when there's not safety, everything contracts and there's tension. And that tension is something that sometimes is held so tightly that and it's on a very unconscious level. It's really at the subconscious level. And so as you start to unpack that, you can use breath as a way to start to open that. So first, I would say, Melissa, is find ways to create inner safety. For me, inner safety begins with boundaries. Taking a pause before you answer a request. Because so many people didn't have the pause, or they're very small beings or children. They didn't have the experience of actually pausing and being able to say no or yes. So boundaries, no's and yeses.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
I'll just tack on to that. Yeah, we encounter this question fairly regularly. People being shut down at some point as it go down, there's a shutdown. So it's a lot about what I was speaking about at the start, is feeling, learning to feel and have sensations. So when you breathe in, there's going to be a bottom to where you can feel in your breath, feel inside your body. And so you just start there. And so wherever you start, you become aware of the lowest point of the breath where you can feel it. And then just over time, over days and months and years, you gradually increase the space downwards that you can feel. Eventually, expanding the breath, bringing it down, you can feel the lungs putting pressure on the internal organs, which then puts pressure on the pelvic floor. You can feel actually the pelvic floor being stimulated by a breath. It goes down far enough.
Mhm.
It's totally awesome.
So we're getting a message here.
Yeah, we gotta
We're-
go.
We're down to our 3 minutes. So let's bring this all together.
Okay.
All right. So it's not a competition, but if it were, I'm curious. Did anybody from the pragmatic side who self-identified as a pragmatist, did
They
anybody?
left.
Yeah. Same as if they all left. I'm okay with that.
See what we have now. Yeah, 4 people.
Just curious, was there, and put this in the chat, was there a revelation? Was there something new in this that you got from this discussion between 2 of us and then the people who are on the chat? So if you put
Thank you.
that, just a nugget that you got, that would help us become the teachers and to continue to be the teachers that we want to be.
Thank you.
Is that?
Yeah.
I would say that I want to thank everybody on this call, and there were quite a few of you. Thank you for being with us from the beginning. There were some glitches, and we got to breathe deeply about that because, you know, the body sensations were not pleasant at that point, but we did get through them.
I wanted to have a pounding on the table expression.
Yes, yes. And I was like, it's okay. We're going to be okay. So
Yes.
we are on the internet as loveandsexmastery.com. Soon to be
Make love easy.
makeloveeasy.coach. So you can find us there. You can find us on our Facebook group, Love and Sex Mastery. And thank you. Oh, we got this very gratifying. Thank you. Yes, we got someone who's like starting to understand energy orgasms and working from the physical sensations towards the energy makes sense. And all of that is really what I hope, and what we've modeled is that we come from sometimes very different ways of experiencing or talking about how we experience energy.
But we don't let that get in the way.
But we don't let it get in the way. And in fact, it actually can enliven our connection because he gives me new ideas, things that I think about, and I'm going to believe in the last, now going on 13 years, that I've introduced some ways of perceiving and thinking about energy. And so, yes, a pragmatist and a woo-woo can coexist.
Yeah.
Ecstatically, orgasmically.
Orgasmically.
And you know what? Less is more, and sometimes more is more.
Sounds like something Lawrence would say.
So loveandsexmastery.com. I'll put that in the chat again. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Sasha Rose.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Janelle. Thanks for talking me through that. Thank you, Sol.
I just realized that you guys are the people that Lawrence recommended that I visit when I was in Sedona, and I never got around. I never got around to doing that. Well, but next time in Sedona, I would love to.
Yes.
Next time, do it.
And here's another piece. We actually rent his house.
Yeah.
So this is Lawrence.
This is Lawrence's house right here.
This is epic.
Yes, we live. We go. Yeah. And you know, once we all decide that we can hug again, we welcome you to Sedona.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I feel so much heart love. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. I'm not far away in Tucson. Next time I get.
Yeah.
Same. Oh, Lori and Michael. Yes, you want to stay for them.
Yeah. And the next time I get to Sedona, I live in Tucson. I'll look you guys up.
Oh, beautiful.
Great. Awesome.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, love. So we are going to actually be ending this recording, and you guys are going to come back in here in a few minutes. So we're going to ask everybody who's not a presenter to exit the room for just a second, and then we'll come back in because we want to end this recording so that we have them separate. Okay? Thank you, guys. We'll see you guys soon.